All right, so get this. We're diving deep on Sean Diddy Combs, you know?
Oh, this is gonna be good.
You wanted the full story on his journey, and honestly, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, from Harlem to this like hip hop mogul status, and now, well, these charges he's facing are incredibly serious.
It's a lot to unpack, even for those of us who, think we followed his career.
It really makes you think about like public image versus reality, doesn't it?
Totally. And we're better to start than the beginning.
Mm.
His dad allegedly had ties to Frank Lucas.
Whoa, talk about a heavy shadow, right? I mean, Frank Lucas, that's a legend, but a seriously notorious one.
And then to have his father murdered when he was just 2 years old. Growing up in poverty after that, it's hard to imagine the impact.
Definitely shapes you. But it's interesting, right? Because the Diddy we saw later on, going to Catholic school, being an altar boy.
Almost a complete 180, wouldn't you say?
Totally. And he went to Howard University, too. Briefly, at least.
2 years, right?
Yeah, 2 years. Makes you wonder if dropping out was like the first sign he wasn't meant for a typical path.
That entrepreneurial spirit showing early. So,
Yeah.
1990, he's an intern at Uptown Records.
An intern?
Can you picture it?
Not really.
But, get this, he climbs the ladder
Yeah.
and becomes a talent director.
And that's where things get really interesting. This is Diddy we're talking about. He's got that eye for talent.
Yeah.
I mean, Mary J. Blige.
Yep.
Huge names in R&B, and he helped shape their careers so early on. That's, like, unheard of.
And then boom, 1993, he creates Bad Boy Records.
Not just a label, though, right?
No way. It was a movement, a whole cultural shift.
Exactly. You can't talk about 90s hip-hop without mentioning Bad Boy. And, of course, there's Biggie.
Ah, Biggie. Signing him early on. Genius.
Completely changed the game. Their relationship, their collaborations, that's a whole other deep dive in itself.
And don't forget, on top of all that, he's producing hits for TLC.
Crazy, sexy, cool. Huge, massive hit.
Exactly. Proved he wasn't just about rap. This guy understood how to make hits, period. Across genres.
Which leads to the big question. Musical genius or just a really, really savvy businessman? Because, let's be real, there was a lot of talk about the heavy sampling, relying on guest artists.
And that's right around when Puff Daddy, the rapper, emerges.
Right, can't nobody hold me down?
Blew up the charts, absolutely. But then his debut album, No Way Out, while it was commercially successful,
Had its critics, for sure.
people questioning his artistry, his authenticity.
And that seems to be a recurring theme throughout his career. You know, even with the Grammy nominations, winning Best Rap Album.
5 nominations, right?
Yeah, 5. But there was always this debate. Is he the real deal, or is it all just business?
And then there are the name changes. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, just Diddy. Remember that time he wanted to be called Love?
Or Brother Love, yeah.
Like, what was going on there?
It's like this constant reinvention, you know? Trying to stay ahead of the curve. And that unreleased gospel album, Thank You, throws another wrench in the mix.
Imagine if that had actually dropped. Could have been huge. Maybe even shifted his entire image.
Totally.
Okay, but before we go down that rabbit hole, we got to talk about his business ventures.
Oh, yeah, this is where it gets juicy. Sean John, restaurants, that cologne, he was everywhere.
Inescapable, practically.
Yep.
But you got to give him credit. It wasn't just slapping his name on things. The Sean John clothing line was a big deal.
Huge. He even won a CFDA award. In the fashion world, that's a pretty big deal, you know?
Major accomplishment.
Yeah.
But of course, there were missteps.
Yeah, like that whole thing with the raccoon dog fur.
Not exactly ethical.
Not a good look. Makes you wonder, with all the success, were there blind spots? Did he get it? I mean, you've got the CFDA award, and then you've got raccoon dog fur. It's a lot.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. And speaking of unpacking, we got to dive deeper into those business ventures. Because this Ciroc vodka deal,
Oh, yeah, that was massive.
hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
reportedly. But it's interesting you bring that up because it didn't end well. He ended up suing them.
Foreshadowing, maybe?
Totally.
Yeah.
But let's not forget his Aquahydrate investment with Mark Wahlberg. That's serious business acumen.
Beyond the music, for sure. Like he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
Exactly. But let's be real, his personal life was, well,
Complicated, to say the least.
7 children from different relationships. That long, very public, on-again, off-again relationship with Kim Porter.
And her tragic passing in 2018. It's a reminder that even with all the money and fame, life throws curveballs.
Absolutely. But that same year, a real bright spot, Diddy and his son, King Combs, they both had #1 hits, different Billboard charts. Talk about a legacy moment.
Amazing. Father and son both at the top.
Incredible. But we can't talk about Diddy without addressing those legal issues.
Right. And I think issues might be an understatement.
It's a lot more than that. It's a whole pattern of behavior, decades in the making, and it's finally coming to light.
This isn't just a PR nightmare, it's serious stuff.
Definitely. And we're going to get into all of that right after this. So when we talk about Diddy's legal troubles, it's not like this came out of nowhere, right?
Oh, absolutely not. This has been building for, well, decades, really.
Right, back to the 90s even.
Sure.
That assault case with Steve Stout, music executive.
Yeah, 1999, that was big news. And then that same year, the whole Club New York shooting. Crazy.
Wild time. He was acquitted on all charges, but still.
It definitely takes a toll. That kind of public scrutiny, the media frenzy, it changes you.
For sure. And then we can't forget about the sweatshop accusations in the early 2000s. Those Sean John allegations, that feels relevant now.
Oh, yeah, huge ethical questions there. Labor practices, fast fashion. People were wondering if, success came with a hidden cost.
He did take action, eventually, but it makes you think.
Did the fame shield him for a bit? It's possible. Because fast forward to 2023, these aren't just accusations anymore.
This is when things get really serious. Multiple women alleging sexual assault going back years.
And these were detailed accounts, some with corroborating witnesses, evidence. It's not just hearsay. The Cassie Ventura lawsuit, for example.
That was big. Even though it was settled out of court, the allegations were
disturbing.
There's no other word for it. And then CNN gets that hotel surveillance footage.
2016, right, showing the alleged assault.
That's not speculation, it's video evidence.
He did apologize publicly, but the damage was done. And then it seems like every other week there's a new lawsuit, a new accuser.
And the stories are similar, which is the really troubling part.
And there are whispers of even more to come, like potentially hundreds of accusers.
Hundreds.
Just rumors for now. But if even a fraction of that is true, it's hard to even fathom.
This is huge. And then there are the federal charges. This isn't just a celebrity scandal anymore. This is racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation for purposes of prostitution.
This is the big leagues. Serious, serious crimes.
I feel like I need a law dictionary. What does racketeering even mean in this context?
So basically it means they're saying he used a business, likely Bad Boy Records, as a front for illegal activities. In this case, those related to sexual exploitation. It's about a pattern of criminal behavior, not just isolated incidents.
Are they saying he was using his power, his fame, to, coerce women?
That seems to be the implication, yeah. That he used his money, his influence to control women, and the fact that he's been denied bail twice. It says a lot.
It's just wild to me. This is someone who went from intern to, hip-hop icon. He built an empire, a billion-dollar fortune, and now...
facing decades in prison, it's a lot to process.
It really makes you question everything. How does this happen? Where did it all go wrong?
That's the question, isn't it? And I think it's bigger than just Diddy. It's about a system that protects powerful men sometimes. It's about a culture that can be, let's say it's not always eager to believe accusations, especially when they're against someone successful, someone famous.
It makes you think about what we choose to ignore.
It's about facing some uncomfortable truths. About the music industry, about ourselves.
Where do we even go from here? What happens next?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about after a quick break.
I mean, it's got to be tough to come back from this, right? Even if somehow he's acquitted on everything, just the accusations themselves, people are going to remember.
Yeah, that's the thing about these kinds of allegations. They stick with you. Yeah. And we're already seeing the impact. Howard University, they revoked his honorary degree.
And that big donation.
Gone. And you got to think, this is just the beginning. What happens to Bad Boy Records? His other businesses? It makes you wonder, can you separate the person from the brand at this point?
It's did we all kind of buy into the Diddy persona so much that we maybe overlooked some red flags?
It's possible, isn't it? We build up these celebrities, put them on a pedestal, and it's hard sometimes to reconcile the image with the reality.
This guy throwing these huge parties, the success, the money, it's a lot to square with the accusations.
And that's the danger, right? Creating these narratives, ignoring the whispers until it's too late. It's not to say we shouldn't celebrate success or admire talent, but
it definitely makes you think twice.
We got to be careful about who we idolize. Because money and fame, they can hide a lot of darkness.
It's like that saying, money doesn't change you, it just exposes you. Something like that.
Exactly. And it makes you think about those early pictures of Diddy. That kid from Harlem, hungry to make it. It was all about the music back then. Now it's lawyers and courtrooms. What a change.
Full circle, but not in a good way. It really shows you no matter how far you climb, Your past can always catch up with you.
And the choices we make, they have consequences not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. It's a tough lesson to learn.
So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to take away from all of this?
Well, for me, it's a reminder that we can't just be bystanders. We got to be critical, question what we see and hear, especially when it comes to celebrity. We have a responsibility to listen to those who speak out, especially when it's risky for them to do so.
Because this isn't just a Diddy problem, right?
Right. This is bigger than one person. This is about a system that can sometimes silence victims and protect abusers. It's about power dynamics and how we, as a society, deal with these situations, and those are conversations we need to keep having.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. How will you view Sean Diddy Combs' legacy? It's complicated, there's no easy answer, and that's why it's important to keep asking these tough questions. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.